Mr Hyde, obviously a fundamental character in Jekyll and Hyde, so let's get ready for an essay on him if he comes up in our exam. So, there's obviously so much you can say about Mr Hyde, but I've narrowed it down to 4 key points and I've colour-coded my analysis to see where it fits in with the mark scheme. So, in my introduction, how does Stevenson present the character of Mr Edward Hyde? So Stevenson is showing that Hyde is considered evil because of his impulsive passion and his desire for freedom, but Hyde resides in us all. However, he is judged and limited by society rather than understood and helped. So what 4 points would I say in response to an essay on Mr Hyde? First of all, I've established straight away he lacks empathy and he's impulsive and cruel, and I've got the quote trampled calmly to show that. Then I make the point that he's judged by society, even though he resides in us all, and I've got something troglodytic for that. Now, we all feel comfortable indulging our impulsive free sides, just like Jekyll does Hyde, and I've got the quote leap of welcome. And finally, I'd look at it from a slightly different angle, and rather than start bashing Hyde, look at him as a victim of society's limits and intolerance, and I've got the quote child of hell for that. So how does Stevenson present the character Mr Hyde? Paragraph 1, trampled calmly. So Hyde lacks empathy and tolerance, so he is naturally violent. His calmness shows how he feels no remorse in his violence, he is used to it and he's comfortable with the pain. And Stevenson instantly associates Hyde's violence with evil, reflecting society's intolerance of it. Now this quote here is when he is trampling on the little girl in chapter 1. Now he had no agenda against this girl, showing his impulsive cruelty. Now at this point Hyde is a small man, but his thirst for violence and freedom gives him an unexpected strength and power. So Stevenson shows how hate and passion has more strength than physical power. Then look at the verb trampled. This connotes the disrespect and intolerance he has for the vulnerability of society, as symbolised by the little girl, but it also connotes the ease that violence comes to him. It is natural and instinctive. Paragraph 2, so now I'll go on to something troglodytic. So even though we accept that he is an evil, bad person, he's judged straight away. So as soon as Utterson sees him, he reflects the hypocrisy of society, because although we claim to be tolerant and understanding, want to help those that are not as fortunate and as controlled as ourselves, he judges Hyde instantly as something inhuman. Bear in mind at this point that Utterson hasn't actually seen Hyde do anything bad as yet, he's just basing this on a story from his friend. Now he uses the word troglodytic, which refers to a prehistoric man, so he describes Hyde as something unevolved. Now this reflects a Darwinistic argument, this impulsive evil of Hyde resides in us all. We've just learned to control it, so he's a victim of society's limits and order. So what we've basically got is Utterson judging someone who is actually within us all. Now if you use the word something, which is a deliberately vague description, because Hyde can't be described, evil has no face as it resides in us all. Hyde is not one man, Hyde is everywhere. Now Utterson considers his impulsive evil as something not befitting human status, hence why he calls him something rather than anything that we associate with a human. So he's intolerant of him exactly the same way as Hyde is intolerant of society, basically showing once again that Hyde is not just one person but is across society, and we are just as cruel in our own way as he is. Then I move on to this one, which changes our understanding of Hyde quite significantly. When Jekyll becomes Hyde for the first time, he says he felt a leap of welcome. So we all feel okay indulging our impulsive free side, just like Jekyll does sometimes. When Jekyll first became Hyde, he felt like he belonged to him. This shows how natural Hyde's behaviour is to us. He resides in us all, and we just choose to hide our Hyde. But Jekyll becomes addicted to Hyde. Here at the early stages, he feels comfortable and alive as Hyde, but as time goes on, he falls into slavery and he cannot escape him. This reflects Stevenson's own struggles with cocaine addiction. He thought that he could use cocaine as a painkiller, use it as something to help him, but actually became addicted and he couldn't escape it. Now the verb leap here, this movement here is natural and instinctive, showing the emotion that Jekyll felt when he became Hyde was also natural and instinctive. And noun welcome shows that Hyde is the one in control. If Hyde is the one welcoming Jekyll, it shows that if we begin to indulge our impulsive side and we give it power, then we are giving it control over us. We do have an evil inside of us, but we have to limit it, or society demands that we limit it, otherwise it will consume us and control us. Then my last paragraph here, I would stop bashing Hyde and I'd look instead at the fact he is victimised by society. He is not all bad, but he is also a victim of society's limits and intolerance. And I've got this noun child here, which Jekyll uses to describe Hyde. A child needs guidance and support to grow successfully. Hyde needed that support and help from society, but he's denied this. He is never understood, and his impact becomes more destructive and painful. If he had been helped, if he had been shown the way, perhaps it might have been a little bit different for him. A child also connotes innocence, which demonstrates how Hyde is innocent to society's expectations and limits. Hyde never asked to be a part of our society. He was created and forced within it, so who are we to judge him as an evil person? Now they compare him to hell, so this demonstrates the clash between science and religion. Scientific discovery is condemned by our religious principles and our standards as they see him as hellish, and this shows Jekyll's increasing intolerance and agony under the control of Hyde. This addiction is crushing him as he feels like he's in hell.